Hey everyone, and welcome back to One Candle Paranormal Case File. And not just a regular One Candle Paranormal Case File, our season finale of One Candle Paranormal Case File. Here with your host, Vic Whateley.
And Marcus D.
And get ready, because we're about to discuss the disturbing case of the Grinning Man. One of the reasons we really want to do this one for our season finale is because we actually have some first-hand information when it comes to the Grinning Man. Our very own Adam Mathers had an encounter with one several years ago, and he's allowed us to share his encounter with you. One afternoon, when Adam was returning home from a particularly hard day at work, he went straight to bed and just collapsed in and quickly fell asleep. He woke sometime later, realizing something was off. That sort of sensation when you know something has moved or something is different or something is off in the bedroom around you that's just keeping you from sleeping. He opened his eyes and began to examine his surroundings, and sure enough, something was very off. He noticed a man in a suit, standing at the foot of his bed. The man's suit was tailor-fit to him, but did seem to be a bit untidy. As his gaze moved up the body, he noticed the most shocking feature about the individual. A large, ear-to-ear grin. Adam, realizing he had nothing to protect himself with, did the only thing any reasonable person would do. Pulled his covers back over his head and pretended like it wasn't there. After pulling them back down, the man was gone, and Adam was left with a very disturbing experience. Immediately after, Adam got up and began to search his house, but noticed all the windows were bolted and all the doors were locked, leaving him to wonder how the man got in.
So guys, the earliest story that we could find about the Grinning Man comes from October of 1966 in New Jersey, with these two teen boys who are walking home. They'd heard these weird reports of a strange man in a green suit in the town earlier in the day. But as these two boys are walking, they actually encounter this guy by a fence, and he just stares at them with this wide-eyed grin. It was incredibly disturbing to these boys when they got home to report that what they had saw.
Fortunately enough, the famous ufologist John Keel had been around the area studying UFO sightings, and he was able to interview the boys, and that's the only reason we know anything about this today. But that's not the last we'd hear from the Grinning Man, and it's also not the last involvement of John Keel.
No, like 3 weeks later, this guy named Woodrow Derenberger, I think I got the name right, was going down on a highway when this weird, he called it a kerosene lamp-shaped UFO, like goes above his car and then lands. He stops his car, and out walks this man, not in a green suit, but this time in a blue shimmering suit. Same description, that weird, demented grin on his face. Comes out, introduces himself as the legendary Indrid Cold. And they have this weird telepathic communication where Cold eventually tells him that he's from this place called Lunos, from far away, and that he's got work to do in this particular part of the area. That's not the only time that he encountered Cold. He would go on to say he encountered him several more times. He went to his home planet. He met the people. This dude spent his whole life talking about encountering Grinning Man.
On that point though, his encounters with Indrid Cold, they get kind of bizarre as the story goes on. A lot of people see him as losing credit, and you can tell that he loses some credibility with John Keel too. For the most part, people believe that likely his first encounter was real, and the later ones, well, perhaps his mind came unhinged, or perhaps he began to attention seek, or perhaps the story just took a more bizarre turn, but it does get much stranger as the story goes on.
But in Woodrow's defense, he keeps this up for the rest of his life.
And even recently, his daughter had written a book about her encounter with Indrid Cold, validating much of his claims.
But if you take John Keel's original interview with these two boys and you have Woodrow's encounter with Cold, you actually kind of get a sense of what a general encounter with a Grinning Man, what it's probably going to be like.
One of the things I find most interesting about encounters with Grinning Men is these strange aspects of the facial features. And I'm not talking about the strange eyes, the wide grin, I mean the other aspects. When you interview people and start asking them things about Grinning Men, they don't remember details on the nose or ears, and after you start pushing them for details, they'll start to second guess, did they have noses? Did they have ears? Which I think is one of the most fascinating aspects of these Grinning Men.
I think if you think about why maybe they're not noticing these things, it's because the two biggest features that people talk about the Grinning Man is that smile and those weird eyes. If those were the two things that stuck out to me, I'm not remembering a nose or an ears.
Actually, I've got a different theory on it, but I'm going to save that for my speculations at the end of the episode.
Yeah, because I want to get into my biggest take from researching the Grinning Men. I think people are missing a very critical piece of Grinning Men encounters. They're always so fixated on this giant inhuman grin. They always almost overlook an even more distinguishing feature. When people describe them to me of encountering a Grinning Man, they say they see these real small beady eyes or thin eyes staring at them while they sleep, or staring at them along the road, like almost like they're staring through them, this 1,000-yard stare. When people describe that to me, that sounds kind of like a sociopath, if you think about it. Like, which might even kind of give credence to why people say that encounters with them are so disturbing. Because when you research what a sociopath does, or that stare that's often described with them, of that stare, what it means, they do that. They stare at you because they're dehumanizing you. They're objectifying you. They're breaking you down in their mind, making you feel less than what you truly are. And I think that's really what's causing people to feel that way when they're encountering them, not necessarily this smile.
So you have these people with these beady eyes, which are commonly associated with sociopaths, but they're often coming and saying very nice things. We're here to study. We're not threatening. Do you think this goes back to a sociopath's ability to manipulate? Because I've always heard sociopaths learn to be extremely manipulative.
Yeah, because they're very charismatic individuals. They're manipulative trying to do that. I'm sure that they do try to say that to people. No real sociopath's going to walk up to you and try to get close to you saying, yeah, I'm here to harm you or get at you. They don't do that.
So they seem to be trying to drop our guards. Any ideas on why?
On why they're trying to go? Nothing positive. Sometimes when people have interviewed guys like this before, they say they would watch people while they sleep. It's like a feeling of control when you do that. I mean, when you wake up in bed, or if you encounter one of these people on the streets, it's like a feeling of control, a feeling of power that they have over you when they do this. So I don't even think it's necessarily anything really supernatural. I think this is just what they're causing us to happen. Like, they're just making us feel this way.
So unlike with the black-eyed kids, where they seem to radiate a supernatural sense of fear, you think we're just picking up on their physical cues?
Yeah, I think we're picking up on this extreme sociopathic nature that they have.
So there's clearly a UFO connection here. When Woodrow saw them, there was a UFO nearby. There are other individuals who had seen UFOs nearby when they encountered a Grinning Man, and John Keel was in the area investigating UFOs when this first encounter occurred. Well, there's definitely some sort of connection here, but it may be like other aspects of the paranormal, where there's a connection, but we don't directly relate it to aliens. A lot of people don't realize this, but there's a common connection between UFO sightings and Sasquatch encounters. But we don't all jump to Sasquatches being aliens. I'm wondering if this could be something connected, or I could be right off.
But you have people that report being abducted, being in some sort of bizarre room with these alien-like creatures, and Grinning Men are in the room.
There's even an encounter from Spain where there's an attempted abduction of this man by these 3 large reptilian creatures. And then a year later, the man encounters a Grinning Man who basically takes him into a ship and tells him, well, what these things did to you was wrong, and he had the 3 reptilian creatures in this vat.
Is that Italy?
Yeah, actually I think it was Italy, not Spain. My bad, guys.
No, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Fact checking. Although I think you told me Italy, so I don't really know if that was the case. If we're wrong, let us know. That's fine.
I'm pretty sure it was Italy.
But the point is are these things connected to some sort of alien, or are they already here?
My gut says no, that this might be more of a disguise sort of thing, or that UFOs may be a sign of something else.
Because Woodrow had talked about that he had visited their home planet. That's what he had said. He said he actually left here, and he claimed that Indercold told him that he was from another galaxy.
Yes, but Woodrow's stories get really bizarre, and I kind of toss that in with those. Like, at one point he says that him and Indercold were moving to somewhere in South America, and that he was going to give birth to Indercold's baby. Yes, Woodrow, who is a male, was going to give birth to Indercold's baby.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm just saying, if you had several encounters with an alien entity, would you not yourself become a little off?
I subscribe to the idea that Woodrow probably became kind of unhinged after it, because I think these things were manipulating Woodrow's mind, and that had a long-term effect on him.
And anything in an alien culture, anything about an alien world is going to sound bizarre if you try to tell anybody like that here. So one of the things that I wanted to get into, when I was researching the Grinning Man, people often talk about when they encounter them, that they would hear this weird clicking sound. Like click, 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 click.
And this isn't the only time we've heard these sort of things. Like, we've talked about other entities on this channel that came with their own bizarre sounds, like static or things along those lines, or popping sounds.
Like, could this possibly be just something some people are hearing because it's part of when they speak, because they're speaking telepathically, they think?
I think it's either one of two things. I think that they're pushing through a dimension or something like that, and we're hearing reality rub against itself in some way. Or it's a side effect of mental manipulation.
So one of the biggest theories about the Grinning Men is, since they're so frequently spotted with UFOs, shadow people, the Mothman, that somehow they're this sort of men in black of space. They're these alien men in black that show up to police other entities.
Yeah, and we're not talking about like the traditional paranormal Men in Black here so much. We're almost talking more like the Will Smith movie Men in Black, that they're these international good guys traveling around, busting the bad guys of space. And deep down, I am not buying it. I'm seeing something incredibly manipulative out of these things, and I do not believe they're here for any sort of good purpose for us. They do seem to pop up around other activity. There's definitely a connection between them and Mothman in Point Pleasant, because they're appearing around that area. They were saying some things that seem to have been connected to it, but I don't think they're here to save us from it.
No, people often associate Indrid Cold with the Mothman, and I'm almost willing to cede that to people, of saying maybe that's a thing. And only in that, it goes back to when I was talking about these things being very sociopathic. Sociopaths are very interested in their own goals, their own things. They're very self-centered. And this could just be very well his own goal. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a connection between the events of Point Pleasant, the Mothman, and Indrid Cold. But I don't think he was here to stop the crisis. I'm not saying he caused it either, but I definitely think these entities had their own agenda. I liked a totally different connection you were making to what these things could truly be.
All right, guys. So hold up and buckle up, because we're going for a little bit of a ride. Just bear with me here for a second. Through all 3 seasons, every time the concept of reptilians has come up, we've always sort of given this sort of tongue-in-cheek, sort of joking aspect to this. So when I was looking up this whole idea about them possibly being some sort of sociopathic entity or something like that, and I was looking it up, the thing that they talked about was that sociopaths have this underdeveloped part of their brain for empathy and compassion, similar to like crocodiles and alligators. And then that got me thinking about some things. If you look at a lot of Grinning Man encounters, they have reported these slitted eyes. On top of that, they have these bright, shimmery, reflective, green and blue, almost scaly suits on. People often report telepathic communications with them. People talk about memory lapses. People with several encounters with the Grinning Men talking about they were here on Earth before man ruling, similar to reptilians.
And the missing nose and ears, think about the face of a snake or a lizard. They kind of curve up to a smile.
Giant mouth, kind of like a reptile, like an alligator.
I don't think we're saying this is definitely a thing, but definitely things to kind of mull over in your head.
So Vic, we've talked about the Grinning Man at length. Final thoughts, what do you think?
Okay, first, I don't think we've seen the true face of the Grinning Men. I think what we're seeing is a mental projection by some sort of entity that has control over our minds. I think that whatever they look like, it's probably not what we're seeing. I think that's why we're seeing the exaggerated mouth. I think that's why we're seeing people having fuzzy memories on the ears, fuzzy memories on the nose, because they're just trying to project something that we can buy. And whatever their motivation is, I'm not really sure. I'm sure it's not something good. They seem to be incredibly manipulative. I am all on board on this sociopath angle, given the size of the eyes, things along those lines. I think whatever it is, they're highly manipulative. but exactly what it is, I'm kind of leaning towards possibly extra dimensional because of the popping sound, but I'm not totally sure on that. I'm just pretty sure we haven't seen the real face yet.
For me, what the Grinning Men are, I actually look back at some of the other entities that I think we've talked about either on social media, but I know that we've definitely talked about on this channel. The Grinning Men sound very similar to Harlequin encounters. They sound very similar to Phantom Clown phenomenon that pop up or in October and the fall and things like that, where people report these clowns are in their neighborhood stalking people. The Grinning Man is a large entity with a giant grin, a giant smile, in this fanciful outfit that encounter people that don't actually talk to you except through some sort of telepathic communication, and there's memory loss, and they're taking you to other places when they do. It sounds so similar to those sorts of encounters. Now, for me, I think there's almost too much coincidence for maybe these things not to be connected. I guess of why are they doing what they're doing? It goes back to, why do sociopaths do what they do? They have their own reasons. Sometimes they just need to feel that dominance over something. Keep in mind, I use the word something, not someone, because I think deep down, I truly think that's how they feel about us. But we'll let you guys sort this out in the comments below.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this finale, and guess what? There's still a few more that we're gonna do before we call the close on this season.
Don't forget guys to keep paying attention to the channel, because we've got some more bonus content for you guys, because we love you guys so much and we love doing these videos for you guys. If you like this video about the Grinning Man, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because it helps out the channel.
Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get updated whenever we put out new content.
And if this is the first time that you guys have actually have been on our channel, this is your first video, all of season 3 has been full of such great videos and such great paranormal content. I hope you guys check out more of it. I know that I've had such a fun time this season talking about this stuff. What about you, Vic?
Oh man, it's been a blast. It's been a ride. We went to all sorts of strange and bizarre places.
And we're not done, guys. We have a whole season 4 to map out. We've been saying it for all of the past videos. Comment what you guys want us to do below. We love doing fan-submitted content. It means the world to us to do it for you guys. But most importantly, if anything, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.